How's everybody doing? I'll tell you what, this is an extremely exciting event. First off, we all know why we're here. We have a great comptroller. In fact, but I'm not here to talk about him. By the way, he is wonderful. He does a tremendous job for our community. What I'm here to do is a real pleasure on top of that. It's an added treat. I get to talk about the New York State Comptroller. I get to talk about someone who has put the people of the state of New York in front of everything else. Absolutely. A person who has put fiscal responsibility and social responsibility hand in hand and shown that they can work together. We are truly blessed in New York State. We have a man who is a decent human being first and foremost, and then a tremendous public servant. I kind of like the fact a little bit that he's Italian too. But most of all, that's important.
Jonathan Ridgway, ladies and gentlemen.
But what we really have is an individual that works for each and every one of us. And whether you lived in Buffalo, or you lived on the tip of Long Island, or you lived in what is actually the capital of New York State, Ulster County. Each and every one of us are lucky to have not just one, but two great controllers, a great county controller and a tremendous state controller, my friend, Tom dinapoli.
Thank you, Mike, very, very much. Thank you. What a fantastic turnout. I mean, this is great. Unbelievable. And people with smiles and enthusiasm, and I think there are a few Democrats here. And I'm told labor is definitely in the house. Is that true?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. Very, very proud of the strong labor federation you have here in this part of the Hudson Valley. I'm delighted to be here. I'm sorry we're a little late. Unfortunately, you know, that lady that does the GPS voice isn't always right, so I apologize for that. But Elliot assured me it gave everybody time to relax and have a drink or two, so that's part of the friendliness of the crowd, I'm sure. I'm here for a very, very important purpose, and that's to join you in supporting with great enthusiasm Elliot Auerbach to continue to be your county controller. Now, I thought you'd be a hard sell, and I have to say a lot about him. I don't know, maybe it's going to be easier. But before I get into Elliot, let me just acknowledge the great leadership of your county executive, Mike Hine. We know each other a long time. I knew him before he was such an important guy. And he really does an extraordinary job, not only for Ulster County, but he really has emerged as a spokesperson for county government all across our state. And every now and then, you even let him out of the county to travel and come to Albany and visit other communities and talk about ways that we can promote efficiency and still ensure that we provide the great government services that we expect from our counties. Mike is creative, and he's forthright, and he loves government, and he makes government work for people each and every day. And it's a privilege for me to be a partner with you, Mike, in government service. Thank you for everything you do. My only quibble with Mike is that up until this evening, he always told me that he was the most popular elected official in Ulster County. But it seems to me Elliot is competing with you with this crowd. So it's the only point I'm going to make, all right? And I know we're also joined by Assemblyman Frank Skartanos, who loves Ulster County and is a great leader. And I'm told our county chair, Frank Cardinelli's here. Where's Frank? Over there. Is he here? Where is he? Oh, there he is, right there. Give a round of applause. County chairs are important people. They do the thankless work. I was a county chair for a year and a half. I was 6 feet 5 inches tall when I started. I had a full head of black hair, and then I became state controller. So this is Frank. There's hope for you too. Kingston Mayor Shane Gallo's here. Where's Shane? There he is. Oh, right there. Okay. And I'm spending a lot of time with your sheriff at good events. I want to make that clear. Where's the Sheriff Van Clark? He was here a second ago. Where is he? There he is. There he is. Several of us were together at St. Mary's as part of the Columbus celebration, and it was a terrific event. An outstanding individual, someone else who I've had a great partnership with. As Elliot can appreciate, controllers have to be on good terms with DAs because we often have to report serious matters to them. And when you have a great DA that does a great follow-up, it makes a difference. Well, Rich McNally, who's the Rensselaer County DA, you're getting to know him very well. He's running for Supreme Court in Ulster County. Where's Rich? Right there. And he'll be an outstanding addition to the Supreme Court. And I know I saw my friend Al Spada, the former county clerk. Where's Al? Is here, right? Another friend of Elliot's? He's already having dinner. We'll give him a round of applause anyway, because he was here to support Elliot. And if there's anybody I left out, it's only because they didn't give me your name, so you can't blame me. We're all here for a very important purpose, and you're all important. And to really, as I said at the outset, to see this kind of enthusiasm and commitment to Elliot's candidacy really speaks volumes about the kind of public service career that this man has led in this county, and more importantly, what kind of a person that he is. I've gotten to know Elliot over the years, and you know, we have a little club of controllers. There aren't too many of us, and you do get to know each other, and we do have that job that nobody's quite sure what we do, but it's something with money, and it's controller or comptroller or whatever it is, and it's from the French, and that's how the comp comes in, even though you don't pronounce the P all the time. I have to give that speech too often. But, you know, I must tell you, the work of a controller is a very, very important responsibility. It's always been an important responsibility, but I think especially given the tough times that we continue to navigate, the kind of work that Elliot does is really essential to ensuring the taxpayer interest and ensuring the future of your county. You know, people ask me all the time, what does it take to be a good controller? And I'll talk a little bit about the work that Elliot does that really makes the point of the great effort that's involved with being a controller. But even aside from what you do to run the office operations and know something about budget and finance, to me, really the most important qualifications are to be an individual of integrity and an individual of independence. Because if you don't have that in the controller, it doesn't really matter if they're smart about budgets and numbers, and it doesn't really matter if they know how to do a good audit, because they're not going to have credibility in the work that they do. And in the years that I've known Elliot and had the chance to work with him, I have always been struck by the fact that he's exactly the kind of person you want in public service. No nonsense, dedicated to the mission of serving people, someone you can absolutely trust. His character is strong and clear and outstanding, and he calls the shots as he sees them. He's not necessarily going to make with a marching band, you know, loud pronouncements or in-your-face kind of reports, but he's going to state the facts clearly, and he's going to state his findings in a report or an audit or a comment on fiscal practices or a comment on the budget in a very clear and a focused way that's meant to be helpful. Not to be alarmist, not to point a finger, but just to say, folks, this is how we need to stay on track, ensuring that our budget is in balance, and ensuring that services are adequately delivered, ensuring that taxpayers aren't being ripped off. That's exactly what you need in a county controller. He has the right temperament, he has the right commitment, he has the right perspective. You know, I get to interact with local government officials that work on budgets and finance. There aren't too many elected controllers in the county, county controllers elected in the state, but I've watched what Elliot's been doing. First of all, he's always letting me know what's going on. I'm always getting those weekly faxes and press releases. So my stepmother says, you have something else from Controller Auerbach here for you to look at. And I look at it because it helps me, reflect on not only what's happening in your county, but it gives us ideas in terms of some of the areas perhaps that we should look at from the state controller level. I've gone onto his website. Have you all gone onto his website lately? Oh, come on, you have to. He's got one of the best websites of any of the controllers out there. Very practical information. Updates, the releases about the work he's doing, how to navigate county government. You've heard about an instance of fraud or abuse of taxpayer dollars. You can report that, and that information on how to do that is right there on the website. It's very, very clear. And you can follow the work that he's doing with the quarterly reports he's involved with the audits that he and his team are involved with. I mean, it's all focused on one thing. At a time that taxpayer resources are so precious and are so stretched, how can we be as efficient as possible so that we can, in fact, provide the level of service that the people in our communities expect? He's on top of that task each and every day. Because these are very tough times, and my kind as county executive has spoken about this in many forums, we've had a real concern about what we call fiscal stress in our state. We see what's happening in other states, right? California, cities filing for bankruptcy. Detroit, very frightening development there for the people in that once great city, filing for bankruptcy. Well, we don't want to ever see that happen in New York State, for any city or for any county, for any municipality. So we need to be on top of those communities that are facing real issues of stress. So we've set up a monitoring system from the state controller's office with some key indicators on budget and fiscal items so that we could, early in a process, identify communities that have troubles. And when we roll that fiscal monitoring system out, some local officials push back. So we don't need to know about this. We know this already. And the attitude was, we'll tell the people in our community what we want to tell them when it comes to our fiscal condition. We don't need this kind of oversight. You know what? Your county controller took a different point of view. He came out and he said, you know what? The state controller's right. We need to be on top of what's happening in our communities. We need to be sure that if there is a county or a town or a city or a village that's running into difficulty, are we focused as policymakers at the state level and local level to ensure that fiscal stress doesn't turn into fiscal crisis. And I appreciated that, Elliot, because you got what our monitoring system was all about. And others then followed your call when you came out and you indicated your support. Just today, Moody's, the rating agency, came out with an outlook on municipal finance in New York State and the state of our local governments. And you know what they found? They found that municipal credit, they gave it basically a positive view because they described it as being resilient despite the challenges that we face in our state. Now, why is that important? Because when our localities need to go out for borrowing, how they're rated is going to have an impact on the cost of that borrowing, an impact on taxpayers. And do you know why Moody's gave that sense of a positive view and the resilience of municipal finance in New York State, despite all the difficulties that are out there? Two reasons. Local government, municipal oversight and finance, that speaks to the work that your county controller does and your county executive does, and state oversight, talking about our monitoring system, talking about the restructuring task force that Governor Cuomo and the legislature established. What it takes for the rating agencies to say we're on the right track is that you have appropriate oversight at the local level on a day-to-day basis, and the state also working with localities to ensure that we avoid some of the kinds of municipal crises that we see in other states. That's what we're doing in New York State. And our work at the state level is made so much easier. I know, I'll finish up. It's made so much easier when we have partners in local government, like Elliot Auerbach, who is a hands-on controller, who is always communicating with my office, letting us know what's going on in your county, sharing ideas with me on a very, very personal level. You know, he started when he was in school. He studied economics and business. I studied history. And I know the school he went to, very selective criteria before only the cream of the crop gets selected.
Ivy League.
The Harvard of Hempstead, Hofstra University. That's where he met his wife too, right? That's where, right? He met his wife. I mean, I know for a fact only the most extraordinary individuals ever get admitted to Hofstra University. I happen to be a graduate of Hofstra University, so I can say that. But Elliot and I have more than that Hofstra experience. We really do share a commitment to take a great deal of pride in our government service. You know, you're all good Democrats, or if you're not Democrats, you want to be Democrats, otherwise you won't be here. And you know, government is often criticized in ways that I think doesn't make any sense. Sure, if a service is not being delivered in an efficient way or an appropriate way, we need to straighten that out. I mean, that's the whole thing on the news tonight, right? On the website and Obamacare, you know. All right, if something wasn't done right, fix it. That's not an argument to throw out the government service that people may be entitled to. And I really do think it's up to us on the Democratic side who understand the relevance of government to enhance the quality of life for each and every individual, each and every family in our community. Those of us who understand government can be part of solutions, not the enemy to solutions. To be sure and not be afraid to say if spending isn't being handled in the right way, if there's a problem, if somebody's ripping off, stealing, and that happens too often, to be the ones to call that out, because we are the ones who should be most concerned about appropriate levels of transparency and accountability in government. And that's again why Elliot's job is so essential as we navigate through these tough times. To be sure that we're not wasting money, that the services that people are entitled to are being delivered, and that the people in the community can look and say, someone who I can trust because they're independent and because they have integrity is looking over the shoulders of those who are spending the money. That's why his job is so important. And it's why having someone like Elliot, who absolutely gets it, is so very, very important. You know, yeah, you agree? I really can't think of anyone who and I got to know, as I said, a few of the controllers who are out there, and they're all friends of mine, but you know, I put Elliot on the top of a list of people who really understand the job, who love it, who certainly deserve to continue to serve in this very, very important position. So I'm really just going to join with all of you, because you're already here, in very proudly endorsing Elliot Auerbach's run for re-election to be the Ulster County Controller. You can't have anybody better in this position, and Elliot, I suspect you're going to win in a landslide this year, and you deserve it. We should hear from Elliot, enough from me, right?
Thank you, Tom. Thanks for the kind words. Judy, did you hear that? You know, before I say a few words, I really want to acknowledge Tom's gracious offer to host tonight's event. And there was another sponsor tonight. Thank you, Tom. Thank you. Another sponsor and host tonight that I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, because they've been my partner right from the beginning. They've stood shoulder to shoulder with me when I first ran in 2008, and have been there for me ever since. And I'm going to impose upon them to say a few words, but I'd like to introduce you to Paul Ellis Graham from the Hudson Valley Area Labor Federation.
Good evening, everyone. And as the president of an organization that represents 113,000 workers and union workers in the Hudson Valley, I want to say thank you very much for this generous support. I want to also give a shout out to my executive director, Beth Soto, who probably you're more familiar with than you are with me. And that's fun. But we really, you know, we represent working people, and nobody needs to tell anybody in this room that workers are struggling. What we need, by the way, is we need someone who is going to oversee the financial situation that exists both in Ulster County and in the state of New York, and we're real thankful that we have such a terrific example at the state level with Tom dinapoli. I don't think anybody in this room that doesn't appreciate the job that Tom does. Really appreciate it. And Mike Hine made a great point when he talked about balancing the issue of financial propriety with social justice. And we have to make sure that when contracts go out, when jobs are done, when projects come into the county, that people are paid a prevailing wage, that they have the right to organize, that they be treated fairly and decently, that we just don't roll over tax breaks to those at the very top so they can take their money and put it in their pocket and then walk away. We need IDA reform. We need to make sure that if jobs are created, that the people that create those jobs honor their commitment to working people. And if they don't do that, we pull that money from them. Those are the kinds of things we need. We need people in this office, in the comptroller's office, in Ulster County and at the state level to do that very thing. To say, look, you have a responsibility to the people of New York who you represent. We don't need people all of a sudden getting a project going and all of a sudden pulling in out-of-state workers with out-of-state plates, getting less than they could, and all of a sudden telling people we're building jobs for you. Well, we're going to be there. We're going to watch that and make sure that that happens. And it's our privilege to make sure. Thank you. And I know with Tom in Albany and with Elliot Auerbach in Ulster County, that's the way it will be. And so, Elliot, we're really enthusiastic to support you and to work in your campaign. And thank you very much.
So we had this elaborate press conference set up for 4:45. It was going smoothly. I mean, there was no bumps in the road until we received a phone call from Tom saying, "Is Stone Ridge anywhere near Kingston?" So then I knew we needed to sort of bob and weave. But, indulge me, because this is some of the remarks that I did have at the press conference, and I think that it's really germane to many of the remarks that were said tonight, so I'd appreciate that. First of all, how can I not be pleased to be standing next to, the New York State Comptroller? His professional support and his collegial approach to what I do means a great deal to me. And I'm also proud to count him as a friend and a fellow alum of that Ivy League institution, Hofstra University. His respect for the duty he has for the taxpayers of the state of New York and the integrity of his office are models of good government compliance, which have been a touchstone to me to shape my own office. The Comptroller and I faced similar challenges when we took office. Tom had to rebuild the public trust in the State Comptroller's office in a time of crisis. And I had to build the trust from the ground up with county taxpayers who created my office by charter after a history of public cynicism. In each case, it required building something new, effective, and transparent. Our offices function in a political environment, but they cannot be swayed by it. I am constantly aware, as I know Tom is, that in our positions, we cannot just pay lip service to the idea of independence. It is our highest obligation, and Tom has shown that with his unblemished record of that independence. So I thank him again for his support and his friendship. I also want to thank Paul Ellis Graham, who is the president of the Hudson Valley Area Labor Federation, and he gets an opportunity to stand up here and take all the glory, but he has mentioned that one individual who is in the trenches working very hard, and that's Beth Soto. So I want to thank my friends at the Hudson Valley Area Labor Federation, my friends in organized laborers, whose tireless efforts to protect the rights of workers and their families bears such a strong connection to my office's mission, which is to protect the interest of the hardworking taxpayers against fraud, waste, and abuse in government. I'm honored and I'm humbled by the trust Ulster County voters placed in me when they made me their first comptroller. And I have tried to reward that trust by asking hard questions and being prepared to take a stand no matter what the answers to those questions are. I'm particularly proud, though, of my professional staff, many of them who are here tonight. My staff rivals any public or private sector group that you can come across. And along with them, we pledge to continue to promote the fiscal and financial accountability. We are looking to ensure sound government and a government that prides itself on serving the residents of Ulster County both efficiently and effectively. So thank you very much. And now for a shameless promotion. I just want to share with you that this election, November 5th, is important to all of us. It's probably the election that determines the impact on lives of many of us in our towns and our villages and our counties. It is those folks who impact our life on a daily basis. The superintendent of highways in your towns who plows the roads, the town supervisor and the town council who looks at the tax situation in your community on a daily basis and provides those services to you. This is a truly important election. But it's also important on another note too. And I know that some of you have heard me say this before. There are 6 propositions on the back of the ballot. So the first and foremost thing you need to do is flip it over. Okay, so if that's the mantra we're going to say this time, the mantra is flip it over. And I'm particularly interested in one of the propositions. Proposition number 1. You see, I live in Ellenville, New York, in the town of Wawarsing. I live in the shadows of a hotel that was once part of the thriving economy in the community that I grew up with. I live in an area where tourism was the economic engine. And today, that hotel has been shuttered for many reasons, but most of all because it couldn't compete. And we have an opportunity this November to restore the Nevele Hotel by voting yes on Proposition 1. You see, because this is the way I see it. We're repurposing an old resort. We'll be retraining and reemploying 1,200 to 1,500 of those people in the Wawarsing and Ellenville community who are currently out of work in a town that has somewhere near 17% unemployment. And we're going to be re-energizing an economy. And it's not just the economy of the hotel or the casino that we're re-energizing. Because you see, those 1,200 or 1,500 people that are going to be working there, they're going to be buying homes, buying cars, buying insurance, going out to eat, coaching the Little League, being members of the Elks Club and the Lions Club and the Kiwanis. We have an opportunity this election to really create a huge change in New York State, and very selfishly, a huge change in Ulster County and the town of Wawarsing. So I hope all of you in this room will join me, A, by flipping it over, and B, by voting yes on Prop 1. Thank you.